In this week's Climate Connection, we're focusing on how a warmer and drier climate is impacting our overall food supply. It's a huge topic. There are a ton of different directions that we could go in. So I'm going to bring in meteorologist Erin Moran here because you decided to focus a bit more on some crops that have really been impacted by Mother Nature's mood swings in these last few years.
Yeah, as our climate continues to get warmer, it's changing the way a lot of our food gets from the farm to our table. For example, crops that need a lot of water aren't getting it in the same way anymore. Crops that thrive in cooler temperatures, they're getting torched by the record highs that we've been experiencing. Even the mornings, which usually the coolest part of the day, temperatures aren't getting low enough to help. So there's an impact just in the growing and harvesting process, and that leads to an economic impact. According to the USDA, I know we all feel this, U.S. households spent 13% more on food last year alone. And it could get a lot worse if our food supply chain doesn't come up with some solutions. But good news, there are people looking for answers. And
so the question is, so what are some of the most notable crops that are being impacted?
Well, all crops are impacted in some way by this changing climate. Some that come to mind for me would be carrots and potatoes, trying to figure out how to grow them in drier soils. And warmer climates, apples and cauliflower, you got to figure out how to avoid those being sunburned by too much sun and heat. Melons like cantaloupe that use less water. This is actually being worked on at Texas A&M and has been for years. And peaches. This is a very particular fruit that needs chill hours between 32 degrees and 45 degrees. If the winter is too warm, it can lead to erratic blossoming or sometimes no crop at all. And one of our CBS News correspondents, Mark Strassman, he actually visited a peach farm in Georgia earlier this summer. A warm winter there killed 95% of this farmer's peach crop. Lawton Pearson was the farmer Mark spoke with, and he said his peaches generally need about 850 hours under 45 degrees Fahrenheit to blossom, and last winter the crop only had about 700 chill hours.
And why aren't you just willing to say, okay, it's a one-off?
I'm hoping I can say that. I want to say that, but we are 20% off since 2016.
That's a big impact. Fewer chill hours. Just think, here in Texas, we're currently on track for this to be the warmest year ever recorded at DFW as a whole. We just experienced our coldest morning since late April this past weekend, but over the last 3 months, we've only had 12 mornings with below normal lows, and we've broken a lot of record highs. I don't have to tell you that. We're all feeling the heat, and we're all going to have to deal with and work through these impacts.
Yeah, we felt it was so nice to feel temperatures that were cool this week, and especially in the morning hours, because we've been talking about the extreme heat we had this summer impacting the peach yield that we have here in Texas. And you also mentioned late freezes have had an impact on our Texas peach crop.
Yeah, so we know the climate is warming, and we know it's a problem we have to address when it comes to trying to protect our food supply. One solution, plant breeders are trying to modify crops to better withstand the changing climate, trying to get the most productivity, using the least amount of energy, or the ag way of saying get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
So I spoke with Jeff Raska. He's the urban horticulturist for Dallas County, and we talked about blackberries. Typically, a blackberry, you think about it growing down and out, kind of in a horizontal fashion. The new crops that they're working on, they're growing vertically, which requires less energy, less water. They're also growing them thornless, making it easier for picking. Now, there is a concern. The thorns are there for a reason, to protect the berries from birds and insects, but it's all trial and error. There's a new series of blackberry crops being developed in Arkansas that are more heat tolerant. Climate is getting warmer, heat tolerancy is important. And while normal blackberry crops are biennial, meaning that they take 2 years to grow and then they only fruit once a year, well, these new groups are everbearing, meaning that they will produce fruit twice in 1 year. So more production for the same, or even in some cases less energy, all creative ways to try and adapt. And I had a long chat with Jeff. He is an expert on all things gardening and, of course, the blackberry as well. And there was something really interesting that he mentioned to me. He said that he doesn't like the word sustainability. He prefers the word adaptability. Our climate is changing, and we can't sustain our way of life on the same practices we have in the past. And so it's got to be about adaptability.
Things have to change, and they've changed why? Well, a lot is because of the weather, right? I mean, because of changes in the weather and changes in the ocean patterns and changes in different things. We have to be as adaptable in our ecosystem, our small backyard, which is an ecosystem, than Mother Nature does. And we just go along her lines, we should be okay.
So he said it's a lot easier to work with Mother Nature instead of against her.
Yeah.
Mother Nature will always win. It's something we say in our WOW visits, and I think it's something that as a state and as a country and as a world we're learning.
And our neighbors, our Texans, are having the conversation that they're noticing that the climate is changing, and the data is showing that as well.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, great reporting. I learned a whole lot from you about blackberries. I just don't get them at the grocery store. There's a whole lot that goes into them, and we want to make sure that we still have those around. So, if you do have any questions or you have something you'd like us to look into, email the First Alert Meteorologist at climateconnection@ktvt.com.